Mary was a first-year high school student who always struggled to concentrate on her studies. No matter how hard she tried, social media and her smartphone constantly distracted her. She would sit down to do her homework, but within minutes, she'd find herself scrolling through Instagram or checking her messages. One day, after receiving a poor grade on a math test, Mary felt frustrated and upset. She knew she was capable of doing better, but she just couldn't seem to focus long enough to study effectively. As she walked out of class, her teacher, Mr. Johnson, noticed her disappointment. "Is everything okay, Mary?" he asked. Mary sighed. "Not really, Mr. Johnson. I'm having trouble concentrating on my studies. I always get distracted by my phone and social media." Mr. Johnson nodded understandingly. "You know, Mary, you're not alone in this struggle. Have you considered talking to Lisa? She's the top student in your class, and I've noticed she has excellent study habits." Mary's eyes widened. She hadn't thought of that before. "Do you think she'd be willing to share her secrets with me?" "I'm sure she would," Mr. Johnson smiled. "It never hurts to ask." The next day, Mary gathered her courage and approached Lisa during lunch break. "Hi, Lisa," she said nervously. "I was wondering if you could give me some advice on how to study better. I'm having trouble focusing." Lisa smiled warmly. "Of course, Mary. I'd be happy to share what works for me. Why don't we meet at the library after school?" After classes ended, Mary met Lisa at the school library. They found a quiet corner and sat down. "So," Lisa began, "the first thing I do is create a distraction-free environment. I turn off my phone or put it in another room when I'm studying." Mary looked surprised. "But what if you miss something important?" Lisa laughed. "That's what I thought at first, too. But I realized that nothing is so urgent that it can't wait for an hour or two. If it's really an emergency, people can call my home phone." She continued, "Next, I use the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of it?" Mary shook her head. "It's a time management method," Lisa explained. "You study for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes. "That sounds helpful," Mary said. "But how do you stay focused during those 25 minutes?" "Great question," Lisa replied. "I have a few strategies. First, I always start with a clear goal for each study session. For example, I will read and take notes on Chapter 5 of the history textbook. Having a specific goal helps me stay on track." Mary nodded, taking mental notes. Lisa went on, "I also use active learning techniques. Instead of just reading, I take notes, make flashcards, or teach what I learn to an imaginary student. It keeps my mind engaged and helps me remember better." "That makes sense," Mary said. "What about when you start to feel sleepy or bored?" "When that happens, I change my study location or method," Lisa replied. "Sometimes I'll move from my desk to the kitchen table, or I'll switch from reading to watching an educational video on the topic. The change of scenery or activity can refresh your mind." Mary was impressed by Lisa's strategies. "These all sound really helpful. Is there anything else you do?" Lisa thought for a moment. "Oh, yes. I also use a reward system. After completing my study goals for the day, I allow myself to watch an episode of my favorite show or spend some time on social media. It gives me something to look forward to and motivates me to stay focused." "That's clever," Mary said. "But how do you remember all these techniques?" "I keep a study journal," Lisa explained. "I write down what works and what doesn't, and I track my progress. It helps me stay accountable and see how I'm improving over time." Mary felt a surge of hope. "Thank you so much, Lisa. I can't wait to try these methods. But do you think I can really improve my focus?" Lisa placed a reassuring hand on Mary's shoulder. "Absolutely, Mary. It takes practice, but anyone can learn to focus better. The key is to be patient with yourself and keep trying. You'll find what works best for you." Over the next few weeks, Mary diligently applied Lisa's advice. She created a study schedule, used the Pomodoro technique, and experimented with different active learning strategies. It wasn't always easy, and there were days when she slipped back into old habits. But slowly, she began to see improvement. 1 month later, Mary approached Lisa with a big smile on her face. "Lisa, I got an A on my latest math test." Lisa beamed. "That's fantastic, Mary. I'm so proud of you. How do you feel?" "I feel great," Mary said. "It's amazing how much difference these techniques have made. I'm not perfect yet, but I can focus so much better now. Thank you for all your help." Lisa gave Mary a hug. "You're welcome, Mary. Remember, you did all the hard work. I just pointed you in the right direction." As they walked to their next class together, Mary realized that learning to focus wasn't just about getting better grades. It was about developing skills that would help her throughout her life. She felt more confident and in control, ready to face whatever challenges came her way.